Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into today's bird video. We're going to have a look at weather for the next 10 to 14 days for today's bird video. Day 10 will take us to the 8th of December, and we'll be able to extend it up beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. Maybe in a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at CFS V2 at the end of the video. For the next 4 weeks, gets us into the second half of December, actually gets us Christmas Day today. No, I shall get to that for you in a moment, just to say that first. The video says our 6 AM UK weather forecast. I've also released a European outlook as well. Check out those two vids if you'd like to do that. Like, share, and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that for GavsWeatherVids. Thank you so much, everyone. Right, let's start off with the CT. Central temperature is now sitting at 7.3. That's 0.9 of a degree above 61 to 99 average for visual to yesterday, 27th of November. I think that's going to end up around 7 degrees. It was a very cold night last night in the CT region, so that will tick things down a bit more. Maybe 7.1 might be our landing zone. It will be interesting to see. Beats with GFS upper air temperature. When beats with GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at London today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London, starting off about average, a little bit below at the moment. Upper air temperatures will be lifting up over the next 2 or 3 days, then dropping back into the beginning of next week. Actually, the first half of December is shaping up to be quite coolish now on the GFS ensembles. There is a colder spell that seems to be starting to open up through the second week of the month, so we shall monitor that and see where things go. Precipitation-wise, going to be a lot of dry weather for the next few days, but as we look on into next week, looking more unsettled through around the 4th to the 8th of December. Looks like could be some quite wet weather coming up then, and maybe back to something a bit drier in this later period as it turns colder. But again, remember, that is extended range, and therefore is unreliable. Temperature anomalies for the 28th of November, 6th of December, a little bit above average. Precipitation anomalies from the 28th of November to the 6th of December. Most areas coming out drier than average, but Western Scotland and Northern Ireland looking a little bit wetter than normal. The latest wind flow map from earthnullschool.net shows we've got a big area of low pressure in the Atlantic today, and that will be bringing more unsettled conditions in over the weekend. Right, let's start going through the chart data then. We saw the latest UK Met Euro run. It's looking big night on Sunday. The low pressure starting to move in from the west. That pushes through and switches the wind around into a cooler or a colder northwesterly by the time we get through into Monday. A little bit of a cold snap through the early part of next week, and this ridge of high pressure, and then we're back into a westerly flow again later next week, so milder air returning through the second half next week, but also turning wetter as well. Icon again pushing back low pressure across the country on Sunday with outbreaks of rain, mild temperatures initially, and then switching the wind back around into a cooler or a colder northwesterly to northerly through the early part of next week. As a little ridge builds through the country, that's going to be quite transient though, so drier and colder early next week, and then again see this big low pressure deepening in the Atlantic. No, sorry, once more everybody bringing wet and windy weather through the course of Thursday, but also milder conditions. The KMA again pushes back low pressure out to the east and turns the wind round into a colder northwesterly, and then through the second half of next week, unsettled, milder, wetter, windy. And then we keep westerlies coming with high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north. That takes up to the 10th of December, looking pretty mild by then, wet, windy in the north, bit drier down in the south. But GFS midnight run again pushes out low pressure across the country early next week, turning drier and colder early next week, and this little transient ridge of high pressure. And then low pressure comes sweeping in for the second half next week, bringing wet and windy weather in with it, but quite mild. That's the setup at day 10, looking generally mild. Beyond that, well, stays unsettled with low pressure north, high pressure to the south, mild, wet and windy. But as we get into a very extended range, it becomes colder as this low pressure starts diving down through the North Sea and brings around a cold northwesterly to northerly. The next area of low pressure is waiting in the wings just to the west of the UK and Ireland when we get through into Saturday. But GFS 6 again pushes that trough across the country through Sunday and Monday, turns the wind around into a colder northerly, then a ridge building behind that, so drier and colder through the early part of next week. For wet and windy weather comes sweeping in from off the Atlantic through the second half of next week. Day 10 brings in a northwesterly flow with high pressure out to the west, low pressure to the northeast. That's the 8th of December. And then beyond that, high pressure taking over again for the second week of the month. So just hints maybe by the 14th of December, we could be looking a little bit colder then, with winds coming from more of a northwesterly direction. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. Why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe too. We thank you so much everyone for doing that. We need to put on around 60 subscribers to get ourselves to 90.2k. If you could give us up, that'd be absolutely awesome. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. GM again pushing low pressure through the country for the early part of next week. Mainly the high pressure build beyond it, so drier and colder through the early to middle part of next week. High pressure then standing its ground across Scandinavia. Worst Scandinavian high hints in yesterday's 10 to 14 day. Those hints are produced today, I think, across a lot of the model output, as usually happens. But GM just about holding on to a hint of a Scandi. That gets us to the 8th of December, with high pressure to the east and winds coming in from a southeasterly direction. And then we've got the ECM looking like this, a trough of low pressure pushing across the country early next week, turning drier and colder as this ridge builds in behind it. Second half of next week turns mild, wet and windy, and then as you head up towards day 10, got further areas of low pressure coming in. And perhaps just a hint that this low could be on a northwest-southeast alignment with a ridge building behind it, and that might switch the wind around to a colder northwesterly to northerly on the backside of below. It could do, but of course that would be beyond. Day 10, this is the precipitation forecast based on the ECM run from TometoShow.com. So showery conditions pushed across the country for the weekend, but also a lot of dry weather really until we get to the start of next week, and then it does turn more definitively unsettled. Drier for a couple of days early next week, and then a band of rain, sleet and snow coming in from the Atlantic in about a week's time. And then it's really after that, but it turns properly unsettled with several bouts of rain pushing through. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensemble today. 4-day 10 gets us to the 8th of December. 18 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure to the south and the southwest. Some sort of trough is up here. Northwesterly winds and possibly a little bit shower. We've got 16 with low pressure to the northeast. High pressure is out to the west. And winds again coming in from a northwesterly direction. 13 with low pressure right over top of the country and a ridge in the Atlantic. That could be rather unsettled and cool. And 4 with high pressure ridging from the Azores up to Scandinavia. Winds in from the east. That could be mostly dry, but possibly quite cold. Looks a little bit mixed, I have to say, in at day 10. Most of the options favouring, like, at least a trough anyway, if not an area of low pressure. But in 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. Gets us to the 13th of December. 17 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure ridging in from the Atlantic into the west of Europe. A lot of dry weather with that. 11 with high pressure just to the west, low pressure to the northeast. So that could be, again, it's going to be relatively dry. It could be a little bit chilly. Got 7 with high pressure to the west-northwest. Winds could come in from an easterly direction with that. That could be a little bit on the cool side. 6 with high pressure over and to the west of the country. Lots of dry weather with that. 5 with high pressure over top of the coast, that can remain dry, and another 5 with low pressure right over the top of the country then. So that's the 5 that are unsettled. Otherwise, most of the options 2 weeks out seem to involve high pressure with a lot of dry weather. So although it might be a little bit mixed in at around day 10, by day 14, we could be looking at quite a lot of dry weather to come. CFS V2, finally, these are 500 millibar high times, broken down into weekly periods. The first week period takes us from the 28th of November to 4th of December next week. dominated by high pressure across the west of Europe. Lots of dry, fine weather to come. Week 2 will be the 5th through to the 11th of December, with low pressure to the northwest, high pressure west-southwest, winds coming in from west. That's a more unsettled week, but should be relatively mild. Week 3 will be the 12th to the 18th of December. Low pressure in Greenland and Iceland, high pressure in the Atlantic. That brings the wind in from the northwest. So still quite unsettled, but could be cold. And then finally, week 4 is going to be the 19th of December to Christmas Day, the 25th, with high pressure to the south and also to the east. Low pressure is away to the northwest, and that looks relatively mild then, but also dry. So as you get to Christmas, as always, it turns milder, but we shall see. And it's a long way out, it's 4 weeks away, so time as ever will tell. Okay, we're done. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. Drop a comment, let us know what you think about this and all of our videos and content. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Get them to subscribe too. Thank you so much everyone for doing that. So just say tomorrow we've got JMA Friday coming up. There'll be a 10 to 14 day as well. It'll all kick off 6 a.m. forecast. And we're going to have the ECM WF 42 day forecast for the UK and Ireland tomorrow evening around 7 o'clock as well. So keep checking back to the channel for more. Probably no pub run live tomorrow. I'm going to be really busy for like the rest of the week. Today, tomorrow, Saturday, working on winter forecast. I'll be working on it till the last minute. So I don't think there'll be a pub run tomorrow. I'll be too busy for that. But yeah, there's going to be plenty of content anyway. So keep checking back to the channel for more. That's all for now. And thanks so much.